right. We are back. We are back. We are back. Happy Friday, everyone coming in. We are so happy to see you here. We see you all coming in. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, please allow me to introduce myself, and we will kick off yet another episode of the Wives Club. For anyone who doesn't know me, I am Maggie, a former wife of 10 years, mom of two teenage boys. And in 2021, I actually booked a session with the late great Kevin Samuels, and it wasn't for me. I am average. I accept that. I really wanted to create a community of like minded and marriage minded women within the privacy of his Patreon group, because every time I would hear Kevin say, "Where are the older women to teach the young?" it did something to me, and I was always convicted by that. So in the session, I'm so grateful. Not only did Kevin give us his permission, he actually came up with the name The Wives Club. So what we would do every week is we would use Kevin's weekly shows as a lesson plan, and the four of us would meet in the Patreon. We would talk about the episodes. We would share our lessons learned, what we got right, what we got wrong, because we wanted to improve our own outcomes and help the community. So it started with just me, and then AV joined us in the Wives Club. AV, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. It's me, AV. I am a future wife. And like Maggie, I also spent some time with Kevin Samuels. I had a few sessions with him from the aspect of a woman that was looking to get married and what I needed to do to get ready for that marriage mindset. We had lots of conversations together. He gave me a few slaps from time to time, but I'm super excited for tonight's topic. In fact, I've never worn this shirt publicly because I didn't have a need to. This is a blue collar with pearls. Maggie, you'll appreciate this. It also has pearls on the lapels. And I was like, where am I going to wear this? And then today, it was so perfect. So I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, we are so happy to have you. All right. And then after AV joined us in the Wise Club with her pearly pearls, Lisa joined us in the Wise Club. Lisa, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I am Lisa. I am a current wife of 17 years and a proud wife to a wonderful Henry, blue collar Henry, as we're going to be talking about today. My husband and I have a 5-year-old daughter. I've been involved in Kevin's Patreon for the last year and a half, 2 years. And like Maggie, I was just kind of compelled, like, we're the older women and experienced people to talk about stuff like this. So that's what brought me here. I'm here to share some of that information and hopefully wisdom and help other like-minded people out. So here I am.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lisa. And then after Lisa joined us in the Wives Club, Hermisha joined us. Hermisha, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here for another episode. We are building these episodes, y'all. Wow. Well, I am Hermisha. I represent as a former wife, and just like Maggie, just like AV, had the privilege to meet with the late great Kevin Samuels. And again, as a former wife, at the time, he was helping me become a better wife and helping me to save my marriage. And now, on the other side of that, I bring my lessons learned. I'm not the woman I was as a wife then, and I look forward to what the future holds. And as we continue to all into the work, so excited to get into the topic today.
All right, everybody, sit back and relax. Ladies, we are going to take our laps around the proverbial mountain. Uh, as you all can see, each episode has a theme. Yes, we're wearing our denim today, shouting out our blue collar brothers. And we always use, and we will always use Kevin Samuel's content as our lesson plan. So when you all look in the description, you will see Kevin did a video called something like Educated Women Overlook Blue Collar Brothers. And Kevin has so much in his catalog that the message still lives on and inspires us today. And in coming up for the theme for this week, one of the things that I used as inspiration, some of you all may know, I do have a cooking channel, and usually I just cook what I like. But I actually got a request from some of my YouTube scholars, we call them scholars, to come up with some recipes that would be useful to truckers. So whether you're a trucker, driving Uber, Amazon driver, anybody who's on the go. So I had a couple people sponsor me to come up with creative ways to create meals for our truckers. In addition to that, Real Bravado Network actually sponsored a whole week of meals. He works second and third shift in a hospital, and he was talking to me about how, the restaurants that we all see during the day are closed when his crew is working. And so it challenged me to kind of come up with ways that I could be useful in planning meals for those type of working brothers. So that's what really kind of got me thinking. And of course, Kevin has an episode for everything. So when I watched that episode, that was really the inspiration for this red thread of, you know what? Kevin was right. There is such a pool of uh, good husband candidates. And oftentimes, us college educated or white collar, working women would poo poo on that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you all have questions in the chat, I'm already seeing them come through. We'll take about 3 laps around, and then we'll share your questions and try to answer them to the best of our ability. All right, so I will start. So you all know a little history about me. I was married to my college boyfriend, met him at 18, got married at 25, and was married for 10 years, 2 boys from the marriage. I got caught up in that modern mindset. So unfortunately, it ended in divorce, but we co parent really well. And since the divorce, I've been in a long term, like 12-year relationship with a 1% man. So for me, I've had to do a lot of work to transition from that modern woman to a traditional support system. And you all know I always pick my guy's brain before we come to the wives club. And my guy is into tech, he's into real estate, he does all this stuff. But one of the things that he said that really struck me is that we've got it backwards, especially us modern college educated women. We think most men or real men are white collar, college educated men. However, the opposite is true. Most men, real men, and this is coming from a college graduate, are the men that Kevin used to talk about are the salt of the earth that go out and work with their hands, very physically demanding jobs. They have built this comfortable life that we live in. They work long hours in sometimes dangerous environments. They sacrifice everything for their family. And so if we look at them as that's normal and the small exception is the, college educated, the Kevin Samuels of the world, we should have a much bigger appreciation for that. The other thing that my guy said, and I've noticed this too, and Kevin often talked about this, white collar men really have a lot of respect for our blue collar brothers because they know I'm sitting up here in this office. I couldn't do what you do. I mean, you all know the Wives Club came together in person in San Diego at the lead attorneys meetup. We've heard lead attorneys say, don't send me off to war. I can't do it. I cannot do it. So there's almost a high praise, if you will, for the men that get up and grind every day. I learned a lot about it, you all, just in coming up with recipes and learning about the hours that they work, the facilities that they have access to, how they just have to kind of get what done with what they have. There's an appreciation for that. And for me, it's so beautiful and so many benefits can come along with that in relationship. And we will talk about that. Last thing I'll say before I pass it on is that let's not think too highly of ourselves. Ladies, if you all remember when women would call into Kevin's show, one of the things he would ask them, and I love it, he's an Oklahoma man, y'all know I'm in Atlanta. Where are your people from? He would ask them, what kind of stock do you come from? Because a lot of us who think we've got our degrees, we've got our graduate degrees, we may be in the sorority or fraternity or sorority, and we think we are too cool for school. But if you go back in your family, even those of us that are college educated. My dad, both of my parents are PhDs. My dad used to be an electrician to put his way through school, worked at the Piggly Wiggly grocery store managing the produce department. It's not too far from removed that they worked themselves to you know what, so that we could have this white collar opportunity. So I just want to kind of set the stage and have all of us to kind of check our egos at the door, because some of the best men that I know work very hard with their hands and with their back. So I'm going to come to you, AV. What do you want to say first about our blue collar brothers?
Yeah, thank you so much, Maggie. And I think one word just comes to mind. Hi, Mr. Mustachio. We haven't seen you in such a long time. Hi. I really just want to say blue collar guys are so unappreciated. So from the Wives Club, you're getting a lot of appreciation tonight, which is why we all chose to wear blue in honor of the unappreciation that you guys get. And the reason why this is important, I love what Maggie mentioned and what Kevin mentioned in the link that we have in the description box is, you know, these are some of the most stable choices in a mate that you can make. And it is so sad that a lot of people overlook them. Despite the reasons, it's a little crazy, but I'm going to equate this because I love to bring real world experiences to you guys. I had a conversation with a cousin yesterday and hadn't talked to him in a long time. He works for Comcast, and he was talking about a new woman he was dating in the New York area, right in the north. And he was mentioning, I really love to hang out with her, but she's getting weekends only. And I was just like, well, why is that? And it was super enlightening for me because he does hard work. He sent me a picture and he's like, let me show you what I did today, of him digging a hole in a sidewalk, and it was only 3 feet deep. And he's just like, that ain't even the whole thing. It's got to go 6 feet. And he's like, there's going to be more where that came from. I got to do it again tomorrow. So I love her so much. And we just met, but she's getting weekends. And then I started to realize just in my own experiences, these men work hard, but they're working hard, but they will be tired. So what we can do as women is support them in these hard laborious jobs, because one beautiful thing that Kevin mentioned in that link that we have in the description box is when COVID happened and we realized a lot of us white collar people that need help to do things, these are the men that are actually doing it, that are still out there. They were still able to perform their jobs with no problem. And I do have another real world example for you guys, but I at least wanted to start by saying, if you're a blue collar gentleman watching this, thank you. And for the women that are overlooking these gentlemen as potential suitors, you're making a big mistake, just saying. But I will pass it along back to you, Maggie. But I think that's good opening remarks to start us off.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, AV. All right, Lisa, I am coming to you. What would you like to share? What have you learned or experienced about our blue collar brothers?
I learned, even as a young child, blue collar is all I know. In my family, I got a truck driver for an uncle. I got an uncle that lays bricks or masonry, I believe. My father's in the Navy, Navy man. And they went to college and stuff. They went to, like my family, A&T in Aggies in North Carolina, so agricultural and technical schools. So they're college educated, or they worked in worked in fields where they had to learn a trade or something, truck driving, building houses, whatever, gardening. So if I'm going to diss or look down on someone, I'm like, I'm dissing my grandpa, I'm dissing my uncle, I'm dissing the men that made my family what it is today. Even like for my father, someone, he started in the Navy and then he worked into it. He educated himself into do something else in the technology and stuff, but they start somewhere. So for me, it's really hard to listen to the episode where the women are just like, I'm like, well, where do you think you came from? What do you think because Kevin even said, your family was probably like most of ours, domestics, working for other people and stuff. So it was really kind of disheartening to hear the episode a little bit with my background and listening to how people, and I know women and people in general do this, but I really think that if you take anything away from the episode, that you show these men respect. Because men like my husband, when COVID started, he had a letter from the government or the state or something that said, if he gets pulled over on the highway for going to work, he has a job that was, working for the government, that this stuff needs to be done. Logistics, whatever they were working on, that needed to be done. So my husband's one of those people that was during COVID, worked the whole time, did what he had to do. So it was just, I think it's important. I think they're missing out. So I hope whatever they take from this today, that we highlight some of those things. Because these are hardworking men. They do sweat. They do stink. And they do need our support. And they want to come home to someone who is going to give them that soft, comforting, warm plate of food. And, if they need peace, give them peace. If they need other things, have that other things ready for them. But that's what they want. And as someone who's been married to someone for 17 years, I know that's what they want. And if you're not going to provide it, then this isn't the man for you. But you're missing out on a large percentage of the male population if you're not looking at our Henrys and our blue collar men. So I'll leave it there for now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. All right, Hermisha, I'm coming to you. What do you know? What have you learned? What experience do you have with our blue collar brothers?
Yeah, well, my father, being raised by my daddy was an officer, and he's considered a blue collar worker. And I was sort of sitting with this. There's a lot that we can parse out with the character trait or the mindset of a blue collar worker that I think I want to highlight here, because I do think that they get overlooked. But when we look at the type of man or the husband and the character trait, we're talking about somebody that's steady. We're talking about somebody that is a hard worker. They're long suffering. These men study their craft and they are good, right? And they go in and they work hard and they do overtime. And I think about my father. Shout out to my daddy. Hey, daddy. My daddy worked like 80 hours a week in Los Angeles County Police Department. And I think about the smell of his uniform, and I still kind of get nostalgia, because sometimes he'll take me to his job where he's doing, where he's not patrolling, and introduce me to the men who were kind of like my goddad. And I was just around these men, and I just remember the smell of their uniform and just hardworking men, right? And I'm just thinking about their character. I'm thinking about how these men were on the front lines risking their lives day after day. And so, I'm thinking from the sanitation worker to the truck driver we hit on, to the policeman, to the firemen, to, so many of these men who don't have the typical desk job. And again, nothing against blue collar, white collar, right? There's commonalities, but we want to praise and highlight those blue collar men, because they are often, unfortunately, overlooked. And I think that the heartbeat of what we're saying today and what we're trying to aspire towards other women is, when you look at a husband, you're looking at someone as a protector and a provider, blue collar or not, blue collar or white collar. Can he love you the way you need to be loved? He know how to get his hand dirty, but he know how to clean it up when he come to you, and maybe you'll help him clean it up, because you're the soft place for him to land, right? And so I just think about my dad and I just remember how he worked so hard to provide for me, and then also, just kind of teach me and model some things. I learned a lot from my father, grit and hard work and work ethic and integrity and all the things that our blue collar men show up day after day to model. So that's what I have on that first round.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Hermisha. All right, we're going to take another lap around. I'm loving the comments coming in. Please keep them coming. I'll bring them up on the screen. If y'all have questions, I'll highlight them and we'll take a look at the questions. So this second round, I really want to talk about the benefits of being with a blue collar man. Quiet Storm just had a comment here. Kevin Samuels had major respect for his blue collar brothers. And you all, there were just a few things that could get the late, great Kevin Samuels to go nuclear, overtalk him, and put down hardworking men. It was a wrap. You did not do that. And if anybody's new here and you did not see that episode, I put the link in the description. We always reference Kevin's content. I highly recommend you go take a look at this one. And ladies, there's lots of Easter eggs in there as far as where you can find these brothers, okay? Kevin was big on Book a Session, but he laid out some places where you can find these men. So you all remember Kevin was the king of acronyms, and we had Blake Henry and we had Blue Henry, and I forget some of the names. I remember Enrique and whatnot, but Henry is an acronym for high earner, not rich yet. All right. So Kevin used to talk about men who develop in stages. You remember he had like the hit squad, then he had his Henrys and high value. But if you are willing to work with a man and grow with a man, blue collar has so many benefits. And I'll share some of my experience, what I've seen and what I know. And you all are saying some of this in the chat. Kevin used to talk about this a lot. How many women with their big college degrees are loaded down in debt? There are so many programs where men can get a skill or a trade that not only do they not go into debt for, two, as soon as they're done, they have the potential to make a very good wage. A lot of us in corporate, you take that entry level and you got to work your way up. Some of these blue collar fields are very much in demand. That's one thing. So if he doesn't have to be paying off that student loan, where could some of that disposable income go? I don't know. Maybe you can think about it. The other thing that I love about our blue collar brothers, Kevin said this in the episode too. You want to talk about a man who loves a woman? Now think about this. Our white collar brothers, shout out to the white collar brothers. When you work in an office environment, we all know it's a mixed environment and a lot of people meet their significant other at work. But when you think about a man who works with his hands, those strenuous jobs, even though we want equality, I'm not standing outside with a power tool. Y'all already know, memory foam Maggie, I don't have muscles. But these men work in environments that are very masculine, which means they are surrounded by men, which also means when they get around a feminine woman, you want to see them come alive, give them the softness and the peace and the love and the food and the silence that they want. In my neighborhood, one of my handymen, because I have 3 on my, I'll call for, he works, I don't know where he does something like where he does contracts and he has to travel, and I think it's something electrical. His wife will be out pushing that stroller. Hey, Maggie, I'm in between Zoom meetings thinking I'm doing something. She's got a little one and one running behind her. Big old 5-bedroom house, just like mine, but she's sitting pretty. And her husband is doing whatever he's doing, gone a few weeks at a time and coming back and made a very comfortable life for her. Last thing that I'll say, as far as benefits, and I'd love to know what you all think because there are so many. Blue collar men can teach you something, or better yet, as a boy mom, blue collar men will raise your sons and your daughter well. My ex-husband, I call him lovingly like a grease monkey. He likes to tinker. We met when I was in college, but he didn't finish. He's one of those that he would take stuff apart with his hands to put it back together to understand how it works. I've never seen anything like that. I'm the one with the manual and I'm trying to understand. His brain just works like that. He's very mechanical. My oldest son has that, just very Lego-y, very spatial. I don't understand that world. But when you are with a man who changes his own oil and cuts the grass and do all those things, you save so much money because you don't have to pay somebody to do it. And I got caught up in thinking I was better or this or that. I'm here to tell you all what I've done right and what I've done wrong. And I'm so glad, even though the marriage ended, we have a very good relationship. And now that my boys are teenagers, I have my air filters throughout the house on auto ship. And he was bringing the boys by or picking them up or doing something. And he said, Alex, go get that ladder. What are we doing, Dad? Come with me. And that was it. And next thing I know, stuff's being changed in my house. My ex-husband is teaching my sons how to do things. It is so important, ladies. So do not poo-poo on these men. Thank you. We love you. We love you. We appreciate you. So when you see one out there working, make eye contact and smile and thank them. All right. AV, I'm coming to you. What benefits would you say our blue collar brothers bring?
Listen, I'm here in the blue collar with pearls. We're celebrating the blue collar brothers tonight. I'm so excited, and so many gems that all of you have dropped. In particular, Maggie, there was a lot of really good things that you focused on. I'm going to give you guys two, and this is coming from an aspect of someone who's been single for some time, not recently, but also just putting. I'm a homeowner, so I've learned so much through contractors. It's kind of interesting because a lot of things that white collar people, and we'll classify this as women and men, don't realize is that sometimes we don't know how to do stuff. That's why we call around to get these contractors to come in to do things that they specialize in, meaning the plumbers, the electricians, the HVAC specialists, the roofers, the power wash people, the landscapers. It takes so much to run a home. And I don't think that we realize and give these guys enough credit. I'll tell you guys one quick story before I jump into the two benefits. Number one, last summer, I did my driveway over, and, I'm learning this stuff as a newer homeowner. Like, okay, for a driveway, I need to at least get 3 or 4 quotes. And y'all know my dad, he's on my neck. Make sure you get 3 quotes. Make sure there are people that we trust. Make sure that they're insured and all these things. Like, my dad kind of guided me through the process, especially not being here and being in the Cape Verde. So he kind of walked me through what I should look for. And sometimes when you're a single woman, hiring contractors can be a little challenging if you don't know what you're doing, right? So luckily I did have my dad and other people in the family to help. I got 3 quotes from 3 different teams. And there was one team in particular that I decided to work with, and they came in the median ballpark as far as price. The reason why I worked with them is because it was a 2 Brazilian brothers. They came in, they had a job of people, this job was pretty straightforward, came in at somewhere around $6,000. They came in, got the job done. But here's the thing. That was one house at $6,000. They were doing 4 or 5 that week. So even though they have to rent equipment and pay out some of their guys, there is just such steady business when it comes to something as simple as repaving a driveway. So women will often look at these jobs like they're dirty and grungy and things like that. These guys make so much money. And that's when I started to realize, wow, there is this pool of men that are out there, and they clean up so nice on weekends. You'll find them in some of these places where, yeah, they might have a greasy job during the week, but they clean up so nice on weekends. In fact, in that link that we have, it really warms my heart because Kevin's death anniversary is next week. He pulled out 5 or 6 cologne fragrances that were specifically recommendations he would have for those guys. He's like, this is what real men smell like. So it was a hard thing, but I wanted to tell you guys that story because when I saw it and, there was like a day after the job, that same Brazilian owner came to my door for me to pay him. And he looked like a completely different person. White collared shirt, slacks, work boots, had a fragrance on. Kevin was absolutely right. And he was like, well, me and my wife, I'm taking my kids, I'm taking them on a trip for the weekend. Great. Why is that something that we overlook? So anywho, 2 quick things. Benefit number 1 is they know how to do stuff. So my dad, blue collar guy, like many of you that are on this panel, there have been men that I've dated that will not touch electrical. My dad taught me how to change out light fixtures, and I've done that in my home. I've painted some of this stuff in my home because my dad taught me how to do it. A little masculine, right? Don't want to do it myself. But in those times, I had to do it because there was no one else to help. But, those are the things. Like, I feel like white collar people we don't know how to do stuff, and that's why we hire others to do it for us. I can't even tell you guys how many men would not do it themselves. So benefit number one, they know how to do stuff. Benefit number two, I love hearing this. When I'm calling to get contractors to do stuff for me, do you know how many women pick up the phone and they're just like, oh, this is my husband's business. Let me look at his schedule next week. It's also another opportunity for you to be a great helpmate and help him and work for him. If they're out doing the grunt work, we can help them stay organized, help them manage their business, help them manage their books. And these are just really, really good setups for women that I feel like as a future wife in the dating market, a lot of people are just not understanding. And we should talk about it more, especially in our community. So long-winded answer on my round, but wanted to share that for this one.
I absolutely love it. I was waiting on that soundboard, AV. You have any cash register for the high value blue collars? There we go. All right, Lisa, I'm coming to you. What benefits can you share about our blue collar brothers?
Oh my God. Well, I enjoy the, I think Maggie hit on this, the suburban housewife life. I do enjoy it. My husband make sure that we live somewhere very comfortable, very safe. And even if it means extra 30, 20 minutes for him to drive, because that's important to him. Because like Kevin talked about, and like we've always talked about, you want someone who's going to protect for you and provide for you and make sure you're good. And I don't want to start talking about dads and stuff because I start getting emotional. But I will say that when I was listening to this too, I was like, when the women say, you know, where are the good men at? I have a couple of answers for that. One answer is the answer is that they're with good women who are ready to be wives or are already wives. That's what we're talking about. And another one are the good men. They are these blue collar men that we're talking about. And that's what you're not seeing, or you're looking over them. So that's where the good men are. So I just want to put those 2 points out there. And also in this video, Kevin talked about where to meet these men. And I think AV did mention that they're weekend. They work, most of these guys, work hard Monday through Friday or throughout the week. And sometimes on weekends too. But Kevin was talking about, where to meet these guys. Sports events, weekend men. I know my husband loves sports. His brothers, my brother-in-law, they all love sports. They love guns. They love hunting. They love fishing. I love fishing, surprisingly. But they love these things. And they, my husband and his brother and my brother-in-law, they all have motorcycles. So if you're a biker chick or you like to do those kind of things, that's what these guys do. So much so in guns. So, in hunting. So I can't stress that enough. So if you want to know where to look for them, go to gun shows, go to bike events where they're selling bikes or classic cars. That's another thing. They like cars. They like to collect them. They like old cars, new cars. So you don't have to be into cars, but that's what they're into, and that's what they're. So I would just say, when Kevin was talking about that, I was like, oh yeah, oh my God, this is, I've been married 17 years, so I'm just telling you what I know. But also the lifestyle, I think I hit on that, is important. I think AV mentioned this too. What you do out in the world as your job before you become married or after you become married or whatever. Because I don't work anymore, but I still do things for my husband to help with his job and with his businesses that he has. I'm his secretary. I answer the phone. I file stuff. I do taxes. I'm using all the skills I learned in the work field. I use it for my husband's benefit now. And it benefits us. We save money, and we can use that money for excursions, trips, vacations, what have you. But that's a good thing, and he appreciates that. And lastly, I'll say a good man, they're everywhere. And I want y'all to stop passing them by, if that's all I can say. So I'm going to leave it at that so we can go on. But there you go.
Thank you so much, Lisa. So Hermisha dropped down. She's having a little technical difficulty. We will bring her back up as soon as she comes up to talk about some of the benefits of our blue collar brothers. We will take one last lap around. Thank you all so much for the engagement. I see we've struck a nerve here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep it coming. And any questions you have, we'll talk about that after our final lap. All right. So in this last lap, I want to talk about, since this is a space, everybody's welcome here, but we really are the older women trying to teach the young, right? What we've done right and what we've done wrong. So for the younger ladies or anybody who's considering a relationship with a blue collar brother, shout out in the chat if we meet anything. What should you avoid or things to consider, things that you shouldn't do? So, what I've learned, and we've talked about this, these men work incredibly hard. So I know it's kind of cliche to say be his piece, but you want to talk about the type of man that really just needs a sandwich, some silence, and let him sleep it off, rest it off. Absolutely be very mindful with your communication with them. Any of that masculine behavior that you think is funny or cute, it's not going to fly. Um, Having combative conversations, always having to have the last word. These are hardworking masculine men. They set the tone for what is going to happen and what is not going to happen. So if you have issues with submission, or if you think that's a bad word, or you think it's a 50-50 partnership, this is probably not the guy for you. There's so many benefits that outweigh, but also any of that competitiveness, thinking that your degrees on paper that you read in a book somewhere outshine or outvalue someone who could do a skill with his eyes closed. Keep all of those accolades to yourself, because Kevin always used to say that we don't understand men, like as women, we don't really understand men. And even men amongst themselves, there is a pride or an awe that comes from watching a man do what you can't do. I've seen, my guy who is actually pretty handy, because all of us come from blue collar, if you go back a generation or in our current family. And when I had to have my fence done, and he's watching the contractors out there and they're digging holes and they're carrying stuff stacked on their shoulders, he's just kind of like in awe, like, I want to be a part of that. If you have any boys around you, take a kid to a construction site, drive by a train, a big truck. At least my kids, their eyes get big. Boys respect that amongst each other. So be very careful about putting down in any kind of way the work that they do, and just be patient and be mindful that the world that they work in is not as appreciative. So make sure you love them up at home. So those are a few things to consider. But Hermisha is back. So I'm going to come to you. We were talking about the benefits of being with a blue collar man.
Yeah, I think you all hit on we got some solid benefits going on here. I mean, you guys touched on all of them. I think the main thing, if I'm honest, the thing that's hitting me is the fact that we even have to reiterate this, because our blue collar men are men. They're men. Our white collar men are men. They're men, and they deserve the respect as men in general. And so I guess I'm just, from my perspective, we're not trying to sell you on this, ladies. This comes back to our heart postures as feminine women. We need men. We need husbands to cover and protect us. Now, what they do as a living, as the type of men, that's a different discussion, and we're sort of parsing that out here. But I don't know, I just feel led to say that, we're not here trying to sell you on blue collar. They are men and they are worthy, whether you accept them or not. So I just want to say that, whatever that's worth.
All right, no problem. So AV, in this last lap, anything to consider, anything to avoid, anything you want to share about what not to do when you have or want a blue collar man?
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of societal stereotypes when it comes to blue collar work. These men are brilliant If you really think about what they do, they are mathematicians. They are strategists in the work that they do, no matter what level that they're doing it in. They may not have the degrees, but at the end of the day, a lot of these guys make well over six figures. So I know we are raising awareness. I would say what not to do is continue the stereotype. All of you guys that are watching, whether you're a man or a woman, I think the way that blue collar guys are treated, enough is enough. You guys are also brilliant, and there really shouldn't be a divide between white collar and blue collar, because I can tell you how many executives that I work with that don't know how to change a light bulb, or set up a smart home, or do some painting without dripping and things like that. Some of the basic stuff that these men do, you guys deserve the respect. You're going to get it from the Wise Club, but also just big salute to you guys. So just, if you guys are in the chat, men, this might feel a little weird. Women, if you could put a blue heart in the chat, that would be great. Guys, if you could just drop a 1 in the chat, or a hard hat emoji, or some construction related emoji, or truck emoji, or a police emoji, a firefighter emoji, you guys can do that. That would be a huge, huge, huge salute, or even a salute emoji. We just want to make sure that you guys get the heart that you're deserving. So that's what I have for this wrap.
All right. So AV, before I let you down, I know you got a siren somewhere on that board.
Hold on. Fire! We got a helicopter too. It's happening.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's not the same without the soundboard. Lisa, I'm coming to you. Any thing to consider, anything to avoid, mistakes that we may make when wanting or dealing with a blue collar brother?
I always think about, I just want someone that's going to protect me. When I think about the zombie apocalypse, I need a man that can light a fire, build some shelter. These are the qualities that I know my dad had. And I'm not saying other men don't have it, but for sure, for certain, if you're a blue collar man, I know you're gonna have make a fire, build something. So, and I watch movies like, what is that, Independence Day with Will Smith and stuff, and I'm like, dang, he did all that for his family and whatever was going on. But I just need somebody like that. And so when I see a blue collar man, I'm like, yeah, they're the ones that's gonna get me through something. When I look back at my at movies and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know how to put it. You're missing out if you're not checking for the blue collar guys. And I did, and I it's the best decision I ever made. So that's all I got to say.
All right, fantastic. So Hermisha, before we open up the Q&A, did you have anything else you want to add as far as mistakes or things to avoid or consider when dealing with a blue collar brother?
I don't know, y'all. I'm just sort of soaking it in. I think that, just what they say, put some respect on it. That's it. With a K, respect. I don't have much to say. I mean, we love in the Wise Club, we love all of our men. So I'm just here to celebrate the men. So that's all I'm gonna say.
All right. So, ladies, we have covered the topics that I had. Thank you all so much. So, now we're going to go over to the chat, you all. I've been watching the chat. We've got a lot of comments and some questions. So, I'm going to bring them up and we're going to do our best to answer them. But you all keep up the engagement and help us. And then we will wrap up with a special update for you all. All right. So, let me go over here. I'm just going to go from the top. We got a question from Christopher Williams. He says, how can a woman deal with the highlight reel? Okay, is this highlight reel? Sorry, y'all, I don't know. Highlight reel, dealing with her emotions and mind daily. I remember when KS said women should not have a highlight reel. What advice do you give to the women about that? So AV, I see you nodding. Let me just make sure I understand, because y'all, I'm old. Is the highlight reel like your memories of past relationships?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, I'll take a stab at this and we can all take a stab at this. I'll just say this, like, The highlight reel to me is really about us comparing what we have now with what we had then. We talked about this, I think, in the intimacy episode. That just needs to stop. Even Kevin said that often, like if you have a breakup, which happens in life, go to therapy, figure out how to put that in the past and move on. You do not make your, what did he used to say? Your current boyfriend pay for the ghosts of, y'all know what I'm trying to say. Um, this is another reason why we encourage, especially if you want to prepare for marriage, having a lot of experiences that are casual or that aren't leading to long term or marriage damages you because then you're comparing that in your mind. So that's what I would say. AB, how would you answer that one?
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think the highlight reel in dating could be very, very dangerous for women if you are not careful. And before I say anything, I need to shout out some people that sent some cash apps real quick. Thank you very much to Mr. Option One for sending a cash app. You are always supporting this channel and supporting so many of the wives. And you sent us on a spa trip. I mean, you're doing so much for us that it would be impossible for us to not um, acknowledge how valuable Mr. Option One is on this channel. So thank you so much, Mr. Option One. And I also want to shout out here trucking for also sending a cash app. Really appreciate you, brother. This one's for you. He's teasing me a little bit. He's like, you an executive wife, AV. What are you doing? You're talking about blue collar workers? And I responded by saying, yeah, you think it's you like making me laugh when we're on these streams. So shout out to you out here trucking. Thank you. Another one that is always here supporting this channel. This one is for you and others tonight. So we are super supportive of that. So to answer the question, Maggie, I think the highlight reel could be dangerous, and I'm guilty of it. I've done it before, where I have been either way too sheltered or scared of experiences because of situations in the past where other people haven't treated me well. And it's just not fair at all to the men in your future or the men in your present. I would say the thing that can set you apart, and I was listening to an elegance training, and Maggie and I both kind of participated in this particular training. It's from a woman named Anna Bay. She's huge here on YouTube. And just in passing, I listened to it and it really resonated with me today. And it talked about, or she rather talked about, the importance of being a doer versus being a dreamer. High value women of old, of present, tend to be people that actually take action. And I think women that do have issues or pain or hurt from the past, if you show the man that you are dealing with that you are willing to invest in yourself and deal with those things, and you show the world that, your family, your friends, it says so much about you that you're willing to take accountability and ownership over things that happened in the past. So, for those that are, for men that are watching, yes, this is important. You should look for a woman that is willing to invest in herself. And if there are issues, if she's willing to fix them, that's important. None of these things heal over time. But I would say for women, it will speak absolute volumes about you if you are willing to address any issues you have. But the highlight reel can be very dangerous because you never want to compare the person that you are with, not even to the past, to anyone else. He is his own man, and you need to focus on celebrating that man every single day. So that's what I have on this one.
Absolutely. All right, Lisa, I'm coming to you. The question was about the highlight reel and how women should deal with their emotions and stuff going on in their mind every day.
I would find a way to put that in check. I think it's already been said, don't bring up past relationships and stuff. The biggest piece of advice that my father gave me was because I had a great dad. He's like, don't don't be like I think you see on Instagram. It's like, well, my daddy does it better, or my daddy could fix this. He's like, don't do that with your husband. I know, your husband's great in other ways, but just don't be that. Just like in a prior relationship, don't be like, well, he did this better. My daddy did it better. Stuff like that. My grandpa was able to, or my uncle, whoever. That's not necessary. So I hope that helps.
All right, Hermisha, and you, the question was about the highlight reel. How should women deal with their emotions and the stuff going on in their mind?
Yeah, I would say don't don't allow another man's another man's hurt affect your current man, essentially. So essentially, dealing with if the highlight reel is, maybe some past pain or how somebody else used to do certain things. You're living in the past, you're not living in the present. And so, we know about inner development, doing that work to release that, all the things, but it's really unfair. You want to stay in the present, and if you're struggling with the discipline of your mind to keep it in the present, then that's where you reach out for support, for help, or whatnot. But we really, especially as us as women, we want to control our thoughts, our minds. Not that we won't have, you know, bouts of feeling nervous or anxious or reminiscing or whatnot, but how can you keep that under wraps to be in the here and now with your man? That's what's most important. And if you're struggling with that, you definitely want to take responsibility to address it.
All right, fantastic. Well, we're going to take another lap around with the questions, but I also have to shout out a Cash App $50 from Mr. Option One. You know how much we appreciate you here. You all know that our community, and you can see at the bottom, we are the Wives Club, but this community is kept safe by the men that protect us. I saw a comment in here about the good side of YouTube, and we're very intentional about making sure that this is the space where the older women can teach the young. Our men moderate for us, they protect us, they look out for us, they support this channel, and we are so grateful because y'all, we did this for the better part of 3 years in privacy because we didn't want to be out here sharing what we did right and what we did wrong with the world. So the fact that you all support us like this encourages us to keep going. So thank you, Mr. Option One. All right, so we have another question from Mr. Mustachio. Let me pull it up. Mr. Mustachio, who had to dip, but he is a wonderful blue collar brother, former Marine in our community. Oh, let me get that right. He corrected me. You are never a former Marine. He is a Marine. All right, shout out. He says, what are some of the difficulties to be aware of as a woman seeking a blue collar man, realistic expectations and such? Okay, so I'll take a pass at this. And we talked a little bit about this when it comes to things to avoid. But I would say if I were either dating a blue collar man or wanting to, um, y'all remember another thing that Kevin often used to say is single women keep women single. And some of us offer consults in the Wives Club. The links are in the description. But I had a consult with a lady today who is moving from a relationship where she called the shots into a relationship with a very traditional man. I can relate. And her single girlfriends are telling her, girl, he needs to do this for you and he needs to do that for you. And I told her to cut it off. Are any of them in relationships that you want to be a part of? No. So, and I'm sad for women who are trying to date today because it's so out of order. But a blue collar man who works really hard, you're going to have to be his number one fan. Because unfortunately, the way our society is set up, if you don't work in that high rise office, if you don't drive that luxury vehicle, if you get your hands dirty, if you need to shower when coming off the road, people think that you're lesser than. So I would say you're going to have to know what you're signing up for and you be his number one fan. I'm telling you, my neighbor who's pushing her stroller around, she thinks her husband is, amazing. I don't know what he does, but it's something with tools. I would say that. I would also say that a blue collar man is going to be, most men are more intentional with how they spend their money, but blue collar men are going to be very practical. So if you are, and women, we are emotional and sometimes we just want to do something because you're going to have to live under structure with most men, but especially a blue collar man who works hard, dedicates his life long hours, sometimes away from home, everything that he does is going to be intentional and well thought out. So I would offer those two, but really just making sure that you show him respect. And if there's anybody in your circle that tries to talk down about him, I would say exit that very quickly. All right, AB, I'm coming to you. What would you say to this question? What are some of the difficulties to be aware of seeking a blue
Yeah,
collar?
I think that is a good question. So thank you, Mr. Mustachio. Another one that is always supporting this channel. I would say a challenge that I would see or a difficulty, and I'm also going to give you a solution, ladies. So I'm going to give you that because this is important, right? We don't just point out the problems here. We give you tangible things that you can walk away with. A challenge could be time. So, I mentioned that family member that I spoke to yesterday about his job and a woman he was dating. And he was just like, when I was courting her at the beginning, I would do nice things like go to her job and bring her flowers, things like that, like when they were just getting to know each other. The woman has noticed that type of stuff has slowed down, right? So the thing is, the challenge could be time, right? The solution is if you know that he's working hard jobs or he might be tired, I would make it a point to do something really nice for him once a week. This is going to sound bad, guys. Stick with me. You're going to love it. Stick with me, guys. Here is a thing. So, as women, we will religiously get a pedicure. And now, I don't know if you guys have noticed this when you go and get pedicures, they have these spa pedicures with all of this stuff. They wrap up your feet in towels. And then, like they put all this like deep soaking massaging in there. Guys don't need to get their nails done. But how great would it be for a man that is on his feet if you paid for a spa level pedicure for him once a week, once a month? That's just an example. And maybe you might not have the funds to do something like that. But if he has a cooler that he's taken out, pack it for him one morning. Put his favorite things in there. Make him a care package. Kevin used to talk about this. Write him a love note. Even if it's just a post-it or something. Hey, thinking about you. Your favorite things are on the bottom. You know me, I would say something funny in the post-it as well. But you just want to give him that moment in the day where he either smiles for that day, but we'll start small, like do something nice for him once a week. Take him to get a pedicure with you. Make it a thing. Right. But our blue collar guys, they deserve the love and the care too. And the best feeling is when you look over at your guy, he's enjoying his foot massage. And the best part is someone's doing it, like, and you guys can both enjoy it together. What bonding. So, again, a challenge could be time. The solution is being do something nice where he'll appreciate that small moment or that small gesture that you do for him.
I love it. All right, Lisa, I am coming to you. Your turn, Mr. Mustachio's question. What are some of the difficulties to be aware of as a woman seeking a blue collar man?
I would definitely say the time as well. You know, second shift, first shift, third shift, different shifts that they work and different hours or days of the week they work. Like they could be working 4 10s or something. There's all kind of different shifts they work. But and then like for me, because I'm a housewife, so you're home during those hours. So it's like, well, what do I do? Or like I'm also a military. My husband's veteran now, but I'm a military wife as well. So he would be deployed or something for months at a time. So ways I would handle that is what did I do? I did gardening. I found cooking classes. When I had my daughter, me and her went and lived with other family members and just kind of kept a nice community around us. But the other part of that question is, I think maybe AV touched on it. People, asking like, well, I don't remember, but I was just gonna say like people. I would have girlfriends that be like, he's at work. How do you know he's at work? They want to stir the pot or something. I'm like, he works a hard job. He's at work and there's no women there. That's another thing Kevin said in the video too. He's like, they work with women. They don't work around women. If they do, she might be some big lady in HR or something, but there's nobody around there like when we work at where we work at. So I'm like, who are you talking about? So I had a girlfriend one time. I had to get rid of her because she was like, well, what's he doing? I'm like, he works second shift. He's working. So I would just say, things like that. And to AV's point, yes, I do that with my husband. Couples go get our feet done together. He loves it because my husband wears, where he works, he has to wear steel toe boots. That's required for safety and all that. And those dogs be barking, and he really enjoys it. I wouldn't say he always loved that. He was kind of against it at first, early in our relationship, but him and his brothers, they all do it now. It's a thing, and when you go to the salons, they be looking for the men because they know the men tip well, and they're gonna take care of them and put them to sleep or whatever. But so I do enjoy that. And so AV is very right about that. I can vouch for that. So hope that helps answer Mr. Mustachio's question. I'm glad to see you back, sir.
All right, Hermisha, we're coming up to you. So the question from Mr. Mustachio, what are some of the difficulties to be aware of as a woman seeking a blue-collar man? Any realistic expectations?
I would say, Kevin talked a lot about this when he mentioned how sometimes women can try to push a man to make more, or to sort of really you push him towards something that he's not trying to do. He's very much so content and thriving where he's at in his position, but they're trying to make him into something else, right? And it's just, I would say that's something women, we want to be careful with. There's a difference between inspiration and trying to control him. He is perfectly fine, right? And so being content with the lifestyle that comes with the blue collar man. And like AV said, oftentimes these men, they are making six figures, and oftentimes they're Henrys. There's an array of them. My father, he worked so much, and he was a six-figure man, but he was self-made. He just worked so hard. So the timing as well. The other thing I would say, and I just remember with my daddy, knowing how to live within your means, right? Now, we didn't pinch pennies, but, my dad would try to get me what he knew I needed, but also what I wanted. But it kind of helped me balance out. Like, he wasn't trying to create a spoiled little girl. He was teaching me that every money that he makes, to be a good steward over it. And so not to just throw away money. So it wasn't like a scarcity type of thing, but it was more of like a responsibility, or almost like a reverence, I would say, where you're not pinching pennies, but you respect the dollar. You don't love it to the point where it rules you, but there's a respect where you're just not going to be careless over it either. And so I would say knowing how to live within your means, and accepting that, whatever that looks like with your guy, because I think this is where it comes down to us as women. We look at the type of lifestyle we want to live. Come on now. And oftentimes we equate a certain lifestyle with a certain type of worker. And that's not always the case. Like I said, we didn't pinch pennies, but my daddy taught me how to live within my means. He would go out of town. We would do certain things, but we knew how to budget. We had no problems clipping coupons, right? You know how to save, and you know how to have a good time to save up to that big trip. So I would say living within your means, and not pushing a man somewhere where he's not trying to go, because then you're just getting into some other territory. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Hermisha. Now, Lisa, I'm actually coming back to you because we have a question for you from the Quiet Storm. It says, Lisa, can you touch on some of the challenging things it's like to be not only the wife of a blue-collar brother, but a military dependent? A lot of women aren't built for that dependent life.
Yes, I can. I've been a military dependent my entire life. When I was born, my dad was off the coast of the African coast or somewhere off the I don't know, and he got to see me 2 days later, and I'm his oldest daughter. So my family has always traveled. I've never lived anywhere more than when I was in school, I never lived anywhere more than 3 or 4 years. Always moved to different locations. So that's all about being part of the military. And when I met my husband, I did not want a military guy because I was like, I want to stay somewhere. I want to, I didn't want to be all. So I don't know if y'all heard my story. My husband kind of left out the part that he was in the military when I met him. And then my dad vouched for him. He's like, this is a good guy for you. and he was right. So, but yeah, it's about moving. It's about months without your guy. My mom went, I think, back in the olden days of the Navy, I think 9 months or a year my dad was out to sea sometimes. So by the time I was 5 years old, my dad was done with his sea life in the military, and he did other things. But my husband, in the Navy, in the Air Force, Air Force is the, by the time I was married, he was in the Air Force, and the Air Force took him away for like 8 months after my daughter was born. So that was really difficult. And we just had a daughter and everything, but I was kind of prepared for it. But even if you're not, just know the sacrifice and that it's going to take, and having community around you. In the military, you've got, I think, a Buddhist men and the not the wives club, but other military wives who are in the same situation, or kind of elders that will help you. I know my mom, when we were overseas and stuff, she had friends, and it's just all about community. And I would take advantage of the community that the Navy, or the military provides for you. That will make it an easier transition or something to get used to, especially if you're not used to it. And I mean, it's a doable life. It's not the easiest life, but it's an exciting one, especially if you get to travel and go new places. But just be prepared for it. Know what you're getting into, and that's why you want to know the man and talk to him about what your future's going to look like, and be ready for that. But other than that, I have nothing bad to say about the military. I've enjoyed my adventures as a military child and a spouse. And if my daughter wants to pursue a military man, I am not going to stand in her way. I'll put it that way. So hope that answers your question.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Lisa. All right, everyone, we have one last question. So we're going to do one final lap. We have a question from Mr. Mustachio before he dropped off. And then we have a special guest in the back. We got a little update for you all, so stay tuned. All right, so our last question, like I said, came from Mr. Mustachio. He's asking all of us, what do you think would be the most difficult for you in living the life of a wife to a hardworking blue-collar man? All right, so I'm going to give y'all a couple answers. I'm going to be very, very honest. Probably the laundry. I kind of like things clean, but I tell you, just as a boy mom, sometimes I'm like, I just washed that. It's dirty already. But, when it comes to taking care of a hardworking man, I understand and I accept and I expect, especially if he works outside in the elements, you know, I'm just going to have to make sure there's a place for the shoes and make sure we have the proper detergent. And, I'm either getting it steamed or pressed or ironing it myself. But just kind of having that be a consistent thing. I just have to wrap my mind around that. And then also the time alone. I know that's a sacrifice. Some of our blue collar brothers aren't home for dinner every day at 6 p.m. And y'all know me, like I love to cook and I get excited to serve a meal at the table. And that would be an adjustment for me. But the way that I would overcome that would just be to really work around his schedule. Like AV said, pack the snacks and things that he can have on the road, and then anticipate when he's going to come home, making sure that I have his favorite meal hot and ready. All right, so that's how I would answer. AV, what do you say? What would be the most difficult for you living the life of a wife to a hardworking blue-collar man?
I tend to agree with you, Maggie. There's a lot of things in there. I think for me, I am a planner. I love planning things, and I would probably love planning surprises and things for him. But I would adjust that, because we are also solution oriented here, in making sure that when plans are made, that they are tentative or easy to move, flexible, things like that, because of the nature of his work. I know some people that are in the contractor business that will get a call in the middle of the night, that will get a call, at 5, 6 p.m. And if they want to make the extra money, they may need to go and do an inspection and give someone a price and a quote. So I think as women, we need to be very understanding with that, because this is their business. This is the nature of their work. But if you're going to be planning A really big important thing is to plan with the expectation that it could be moved, revised. And when you start planning in that way, it's actually so much easier if you start your planning strategy with, hey, let's try to be flexible with this. So if you have dinner reservations, maybe do it at a place that wouldn't mind if you need to push it out a little bit or things like that. So that would be the challenge for me, but also the solution for anyone that has a similar challenge.
All right, Lisa, I'm coming to you. So the last question from Mr. Mustachio. Well, you have a head start, but what do you think would be the most difficult for you, or what has been the most difficult for you living the life of a wife to a hardworking blue collar man?
Laundry for one. My husband would come home with like the overall things, and there's some kind of airplane oil or something called Skydroll, and he got covered in it one time, and he had to take his boots off, and I was like, just leave it at the front door. I don't want those chemicals and those fumes in the house. And I took all that stuff to a laundromat. I'm like, I'm not washing it here, but it comes with the territory. He cleans up nice, and I made sure made sure everything he needed to get back to his regular state. But it's a dirty job, and they get dirty, and they got to do stuff. So but as long as you're prepared for it, open-minded, and you don't be like, ugh, you should be okay. I don't think, like I said, I respect for my husband and men like that too. So, and if you're going to be their wife, you need to respect it too. And that's part of the respecting what they need to do, because they make this world go round. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you so much. And then lastly, Hermisha. So the last question we have, what would be the most difficult for you living the life of a wife to a hardworking blue collar man?
I'm trying to think. Let's see. There's a thought that's coming to mind. And so I know how to live within my means. I think for me, I like to try very good quality things sometimes. And I like to splurge here and there within the budget. And, I wonder if that might be difficult where, maybe we will have to wait and we'll just save up, which is fine. But the other thing that's coming to mind, I remember Kevin talking about this, where he says he fits with a certain caliber of a woman, right? And there's a level of compatibility where it's not that you are against different types of women, but you know what you most do well with, right? And so that's kind of what I would say, growing up as my dad being a blue collar man and a hardworking man, and I know sort of the type of what I bring to a man in general. And I would say, someone that we can get presidential together, and we can do all those things. And I'm wrestling with this question, because that's not to say that he can't, but a lot of men are not comfortable in suits. And that's just true. A lot of dudes are like, let me put my Timbs on and I'm good. And that's okay. And so I just wonder about that piece where let's get dressed up and get all fancy. I love things like that. And I wonder if he will be comfortable with that. I'll say that. While we can also, lounge around as well. So I wonder about the balance there in terms of compatibility.
All right. Thank you so much, Hermisha. All right, ladies, sit back and relax. Thank you all so much for the engagement. I know a couple more questions came in, but we have a very, very, very special guest in the back. And I just want to bring you all up to speed. And I'm actually going to play a video. It's going to be about 10 minutes long, so you all can get a beverage and relax yourselves. So when we started the Wives Club publicly, one of the videos that I made, we put a call out shouting out to anyone who had actually been on a Kevin Samuels episode, because we wanted to start a stream of where are they now, because that's one of the things that we used to talk about in the Wives Club. Remember, ladies, we would say, oh, do you remember that so-and-so lady who called in and she had this issue? I wonder whatever happened to her. Did she go back? Did she leave? Did she all that? So we used to talk amongst ourselves. And so now that our channel is public, we'll say it again. If you booked a session with Kevin like we did, we'd love to hear how he helped you. If you'd like to share Likewise, if you were on a Kevin Samuels episode, we would love to know how your life has changed since then. So, I am going to play a video of a woman who called in to Kevin Samuels' show. You all may remember this. It's from the episode that we did 2 streams ago. I think it was Our Modern Women Dudes. And it really fits with the title tonight because she's going to talk a little bit about how she didn't really value her husband as much in the beginning until life really got hard and she realized that the income that she made or some of those other things weren't as important as having a hardworking, dedicated man by her side. So let me share my screen and we are going to see her before, and then after the video, we'll bring her up after. All right.
Kasolu, but you can call me Coco.
All right. How old are you?
38.
All right. What do you got for me?
I'm worried. I do have a question for you, but I also would like to thank you because you've helped me appreciate my husband more.
Okay.
Um, I was having, you go up and down through your marriage, and I was having thoughts of, I can do better. I need to leave, but not anymore. I mean,
Okay.
seeing the women that come onto this show and then just hearing them and I mean, me and my husband have gone through a lot. We've lost a child together. We have another child together. There's no other person who would go through me with that.
Mm-hmm.
And our second son has just turned 3.
Okay.
So like you helped me with that.
You're welcome.
Now my concern, excuse me, my concern is for my sister and her friends. And just, I think that women are dudes a lot, majority. And what, I don't know. I mean, some of the conversations I've been able to kind of get through. Like the the reason I found out about you is my baby sister sent me the average at best, and she
How
was
many how
surprised.
many sisters do you have?
I have one. I'm the eldest of 4.
You have one sister?
Yes.
So you said your sisters and your friends?
No, my sister
You said
and
you're
yeah.
concerned for what group of women?
Well, she's in her late. Well, she's in her early 30s, but I am
So
concerned
are
for.
you concerned about your sister and only or your sister and other women?
Yes, my sister and her well, her closest friend, but just women in general because I work.
Are they concerned? No.
Yes.
Are
Well,
okay. Are, are are you saying they're concerned, or are they showing that they're concerned?
they are. Well, you wouldn't see to me, I wouldn't think by what she's displaying on social media that she's showing she's concerned, but I know with conversations and how she brings up
And is she
other.
older than 30?
Yes, she is.
So Coco, due respect, she's a fully functioning autonomous adult. She's not acting like she's concerned.
Yeah.
Um, we've hit the ice. We've hit the Titanic. Okay, everybody ain't gonna make it. You ready? You really want the answer? You really want the answer? You sure you want the answer? Let me turn on the camera. Let me turn on the camera so you can see who you're talking to. Are you sure you want the answer? Because I don't think you really do. You and your sister Can you see me?
Yeah.
Focus your energies and concern on your husband and your marriage. Your sister has chosen her life. But far too many women try to save other women when they need to be saving themselves. If we were on a plane, the flight attendant would say, when the air mask falls down, secure it to your face first, then help the next person. You can't save her if she's not concerned. Ladies, understand there are going to be women who are going to die alone, no matter how much you're concerned. But you got to take care of yourself. And the best thing you can do is show a reasonable example
Yeah.
of something else to do. So,
And
uh,
can I say something real quick? Lastly, um, I know sometimes a lot of women come on here and they don't want to believe what you're saying, and they just feel like they are the exception and not the rule. Um, I completely get from a woman because I have my master's. My husband doesn't have a college degree, and
I'm
for
a
a while,
PhD.
I held. I always respected him. I never disrespected him in public, but I felt that I was better. But then the roles reversed, and after the death of my first son, I stopped working and I started doing my own thing, and I couldn't appreciate until watching that he's a really good man.
have you told him that? Have you told him that?
Recently, no, I've told him that before, but I do need to say that.
You need to tell him that every day.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you need to go tell him that right now. He doesn't need to hear you telling me without you telling
Well,
him.
he works the third shift.
Doesn't
When
matter.
he gets,
Doesn't matter.
yeah,
Call him and tell him now. See, that's one of the things that I need for more black women. Black men are dying of thirst. We don't get enough affirmation in this world. And what black men want, whether they say it or not, is they want affirmation from the women they care about. And just because he knows it, it doesn't matter. You need to tell him
thank you. I will.
all the time. That's part of the inspiration part. Um, so yeah, you want to tell him that before he mess around and hear it on here. Um, he's your husband. But I appreciate you sharing, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
All right.
All right, everyone. Hopefully, your eyes are a little drier than mine. I was looking at the chat. I see some of you all saying, I remember, I remember. Watching that back, it gives me chills. Let me just say, before we bring up our special guest, I had the volume up as loud as it could go. So hopefully, you all were able to hear. And I did ask permission from the family that I could play this clip because Coco is back with us. Coco, come on in. How are you?
I'm good. Can y'all hear me?
We can, Coco. Oh my goodness. Please, please, please introduce yourself and let us know, how has life been for you? We see a little one. How has life been since
Um,
that episode?
Life has been good and draining and fatigued. Oh my God, just looking at that, it's hard to watch that clip. I think that happened about 2 years ago, if not 2 years ago. And it still gets to me now, and I really appreciate Kevin. But life has been really good. We added another addition to our family. We have a 2-week-old and a day baby girl who is the boss. So as you can see, she's constantly, I know she's not hungry again, but she's here, and and we have been doing really, really good. And I can't believe I came on KS's show looking a hot mess. that day, but it's okay. It's okay. We need, sometimes Jesus says, "Come as you are. Just come to the altar as you are." And I came in my glasses and PJs. So
Absolutely. Well, um, we wanted to bring you on. Thank you so much for reaching out. Uh, you heard the show tonight, and we were talking about our blue collar brothers. And what struck me in your initial interview with Kevin is you were thinking, like a lot of us college educated women, that we're more valuable, until life really hit hard for you and you realize the caliber of man that you had. So if you would share a little bit about that, maybe what you used to think and what you think now.
oh my God. Yeah, I fell into the modern, I wouldn't consider myself a feminist, but some of the feminist ideals that, I got my master's, oh yes, I am that lady. I got the master's, I had a really good position, a high paying job, and I respected my husband, but I did feel somewhat that I was better due to what I did and what I obtained through education. Um, and it was hard. There was several trying times, but what I appreciate about Kevin Samuels, and I think what he did better than most people, was to show, from a man's perspective, how all of that doesn't matter, and at the end of the day, it's about family, because your situation can turn like mine did, and at the end, two are better than one, and it's relationships that sustain you uh, at the end of it all, and that's what's the most important. So since then, I mean, I had a mentality like, if this doesn't go whatever, I guess. Oh, I'm sorry, girl. I'm sorry, girl. If this doesn't go the way that it's supposed to go, oh, not again. Um, that oh God. That the grass is greener, but now it is really too old dead to us part. There is no one else that I'm meant to be with than my husband, unless God calls him home. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But yeah, so ooh, Jesus. But she may
You
need another feeding. I'm sorry, she's been cluster feeding all day. I have not had any breaks. She is just on the boob like no one's business.
Look, we understand. Those of us that are moms, we understand. We are not going to keep you. I'll do a lightning fast round. I just want to, Coco, I just have to tell you how heartwarming it is, not only to see you and to see the addition to your family. You all know, if there was one thing that Kevin talked about, was we are better together. He was an advocate of the nuclear family. What did he want more than anything? For those of us to get together and go on down that path and have babies, and you are doing it. And just, this is my heart for the Wives Club, because we not only say what we got right, we say what we got wrong. And so I am so, so grateful that you're here. We'll do a quick lap around AV. Any words or any questions for Coco as she comes back?
Yeah, no, Coco, congratulations on the success and the addition to the family. And it's so inspiring to see other people and talk to other people that have had experiences with Kevin and hear how he's particularly helped you. And on that note, I would say, if there's one thing that you really took away from that conversation that you'd like to pass on, what do you think that would be?
Thank you, AV. Watching Kevin's videos really just opened my eyes about how women had obscene um, expectations. But not only that, I had to reflect on myself and like, oh my goodness, seeing how women are, and then also seeing what's out there, like, to really appreciate what I have and to understand my man, not from a woman's lens, but from a man's lens. And that, I think that was the major disconnect, to think that he would think things like I would think, like he would do things how I would do, or try to force him to do things how I would do it, when that's not the case. He's a man, I'm a woman. we think about things differently, but we are so good as a team. And watching Kevin just help me to be more patient, help me to not be so controlling. Um, and I watched. It's so crazy because it was Cinco de Mayo, when he passed, and I watched the last. Actually, I kind of fell asleep to that last broadcast. I believe that Wednesday on the fort or whatever, but it just really helped me. My advice for other women is to go back and watch those old videos. It's still they're still learning, they're still teaching, they're still understanding in that. And the reason I think that Kevin has a lot of haters, but also a lot of supporters, is because his advice is infinite. It is timeless. It is evergreen. And I've seen a lot of content creators, but there has been no one who has had that lived experience, who is funny, who has the poise and the look, who's truly for Black families and having women and men be held accountable for the positions that they take. Of course, like everyone says, we don't agree with everything, but I think the general consensus is that Black men and Black women, we have to be together, we have to work with one another, and we have to go past the superficial if we really want what what we say that we want, which is Black families.
I love it. Thank you so much. Lisa, I'm going to come to you. Any questions or comments for Coco as she made her way back?
No, I'm so happy you reached out to us and came on and shared your story. I know your initial question for Kevin was, helping your sister, because I have sisters, and I kind of felt like my youngest sister, I had to kind of help her out to get her where she's at now. And I'm thankful for it. So I was wondering, did it work out for your sister, or is she still looking, or no?
Well, we are still, I almost gave up because, initially it's like a shock. It's like, how dare you? And well, what if? And looking at other people and thinking that they have the perfect lives, or living your life through them, or this, that, and the third. But I think I think we're starting to, and when I say me and my other sibling, who is a man, kind of go through and talk about what's really important, not the superficial stuff, but does this person have character? Is this a man of integrity? Because our father has passed on. So it's like, I think my brother has done, and my brother is an amazing man. He's married, he has 2 kids himself. To really hone in on what's important in marriage. Because this year will be 13 years. And then for my brother, he's been married 9 years. So we kind of, know a little bit about what's going on and what really matters when it comes to maintaining a strong, healthy marriage. So I think she's starting to, particularly with the birth of my daughter, you know, our eggs, as you know, throughout time, they're not as healthy and as much as they were younger. So when you know that biological clock is ticking, it kind of, you don't need to feel comfortable. You need to feel like uncomfortable. You need to feel like, hey, I need to do as much as I can to get me the best results. So yes, I think it's still work in progress, but eventually, with patience and with sisterly love, I think it is. I think the message. She may not like it that it's KS-ish, but the message is being penetrated. And I wouldn't say it's just it's what a lot of men have already been thinking and saying. It's just he had an eloquent way to say it.
Thank you so much. And then lastly, Harmisha, I'm coming to you. I saw your comment here that this is evergreen and timeless. Any questions or comments for Coco as she makes her way back to us?
Yes, Coco, thank you so much. One thing that struck me as a words of affirmation person is when Kevin said, "But have you told him?" So that would be my question to you. Have you been speaking over your man, Coco?
Yes, and And we joke amongst each other because if I say something, he's like, "What do you want? What's going on? Did something happen?" But yes, it's better communication all around and better words of affirmation.
Well, Coco,
Now you're supposed to be in bed.
Okay, well, Coco, we know you have your hands full. We are so grateful that you wanted to come update us. Do you want to share? I know you're keeping the growing family. Aw, I know you're keeping the growing baby off the internet, but do you want to share her name or her weight or anything you want to share about the baby?
Yes. See, I'm gonna show everybody not the world, but for certain things I'm a share. My husband is like lock and key, ain't nobody need to know anything until they like 5 years old and stuff like that. That's how my husband is. God, but I know eventually in time when he feels comfortable, we'll share pictures and whatnot. But again respecting my husband, baby not online, just but for now, because I do dance fitness, and I did do dance fitness with my son, and we did mommy and me classes and all that good stuff. But for now, not online. But eventually, when we do share, I'll most definitely share pictures with the First Wives Club or the KS Wives Club. But her name is Kay Sandu Chizimuzo Ananti, and her first name means more life, spread life, because before her I had a miscarriage, so she's bringing more life to the family. Oh, okay.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad mommy and baby and big brother and daddy are doing well. We appreciate you here. You have your YouTube channel Africa Pop Mommy, so you all can check her out. And we did share your Cash App last week, so if you want, we can share that again. But we just wanted to thank you for coming through and updating us on how the family is doing since you were on with the late great Kevin Samuels. Thank you so
And
much.
I have to say big shout out to all of y'all. If not for this girl, I would say a little bit more, but y'all are amazing. Y'all are doing great things. Y'all are leading the way. I know that, there may be several haters or detractors, but y'all are, I mean, I am excited for the movement that this group is doing. So I'm gonna share the love. I'm gonna share y'all love once I get some sleep, because I'm tired and I'm tired and I'm tired and I'm tired and I'm tired. So when I'm less tired, I'll come back up here if y'all have me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Africa Pop. If you all want to support, completely optional. I did put her Cash App in the chat. Thank you for being here. I'm going to go ahead and let you drop down and get back to the family. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. Well, what an episode. We are done. We are going to do our last wrap just to thank you all for being here. Thank you, Coco, for coming up. Again, this episode was to encourage our blue collar brothers and the ladies who want to be their wives to stay strong. We love and appreciate you so much. And I know sometimes when that high value gets tossed around, our blue collar brothers, can feel left out. So we wanted to be intentional about showing you the love and the respect that you deserve. We appreciate you so, so much. The Wives Club is here for you every week. I always say, this community is for those of us who are currently married, formerly married, or want to be married, because moving like a wife does mean that you move differently. So thank you all for being here. We will see you next week on the next episode. AV, anything to close us out?
No, I would agree with the sentiments. Huge shout out to our blue collar brothers. This one is for you guys. We celebrate you every single time. So please don't feel left out. You guys are super, super valuable. You help make the world go round. So wanted to acknowledge y'all this week.
Thank you so much. And Lisa, any final questions or any final thoughts as we close out?
No, I'm glad we represented, we represent all men, but I'm glad we get a special shout out to our blue collar because I have a lot of blue collars in my life. So thank y'all.
All right. And then Hermisha, any final words as we close out?
No, thank you all. This is always so good. And I would say, if you know a blue collar worker, show your appreciation. Call them, say thank you, brother, and just love on them. So, thank you.
All right. Well, everyone, until next time, we will see you all back on the Wives Club. Thank you so much for being here. Goodbye.